Hello students, good morning, good afternoon and good evening. I am Vaibhav Shah and this is our lecture number 4 of subject Economics of chapter number 2, that is Fundamental Principles and Terminologies of Economics. In last lecture we have discussed about the meaning of goods and services, in which we have discussed that all those goods which are tangible or physical existence are called goods, while all those commodities which does not have any kind of physical existence or they are not having any kind of means touchability, or we cannot see that product, is called services. Then we have discussed about the types of goods and services, in which lastly, first of all, we had discussion regarding the physical, that is tangible goods and intangible goods. Secondly, non-economic goods and economic goods. In tangible goods and intangible goods, we discussed that all that goods which have physical existence like ball, bat, television, refrigerator and that can be measured are called tangible goods, whereas some of goods do not have any kind of physical existence and cannot measure, like rendition of music, cooking, medical consultancy, etc., are called services or intangible goods. Secondly, we had discussion regarding non-economic goods and economic goods, in which all those goods which do not command exchange value are called non-economic goods. They are abundant in supply like sunlight, air and so on, while all those goods which command an exchange value in market are called economic goods, and they command an exchange value and scarce in supply, like all those goods which are sold in the market or available for sale or having exchange value. Third one is durable goods and perishable goods. All those goods which can be used for more than once and having the usability of long period of time and repeatedly are called durable goods, like shoes, clothes, television, refrigerator, etc. While all those goods which cannot be used for a long time and are consumable only once, like milk, fruit and so on, are called perishable goods. Now let us move towards the fourth category, that is private goods and public goods. This is the pair of two goods which are classified as private goods and public goods based on their ownership and nature of use. As we have discussed in last lecture that private goods and public goods are those goods which can be divided on the basis of ownership, like the characteristics of excludability and competitiveness is applicable in the case of private goods, where the goods can be prevented by using others when it is private goods. It means when once the ownership and possession is lies in the hands of a single person, it is private goods and we can exclude others to use. So it is also on the basis of nature of use, while public goods are all those goods which can be used collectively by all the persons, or we cannot exclude anyone to use these goods. Now let us move forward. Second paragraph, that is private goods are goods which can be possessed and owned by a private individual. Line these statements: she or he takes all decision regarding these goods. So private goods are goods which can be possessed. It means when the person is purchasing it, he is having the possession of a good, and ownership of a private good lies with that particular person. Here she or he takes all decision. It means all decision regarding whether to purchase it or to use it or to dispose it, because it is in the possession of a single person. So he or she can take all the decision regarding this on goods, and it is the subject matter of that particular individual only. These goods possesses the characteristics of excludability and competitiveness. These 2 points we have already discussed in last lecture. Then also today, for your convenience, let us discuss that excludability means once a good is owned, and being used by one individual, another individual cannot possess and use it at the same time. Here we are taking a simple example of a mobile phone. Once a mobile phone is owned and being used by one individual, it means the person who has purchased it or the person who will be having the willingness to use it. Like if the mobile phone is purchased by our parents for themselves, then it is the private goods for them. But if it is purchased for us or any of his child, then it is in the possession of that child, and the ownership is also lies with that person. So at the same time when that person is using his mobile phone, another individual or another person cannot possess and use it at the same time. Means at the same time another public is excluded from using that particular gadget or that particular thing. And individuals have to compete for the ownership of these goods. It means when the mobile phone is in mobile shop or in any of the online site, then it is available for all those persons who are willing to purchase it. But once the person who has purchased, there may be application of excludability. It means when the good is available at mobile shop for all, it is having the competitiveness, or the individual have to compete, because once if it is available for a single individual, it may never available for all others who willing to buy it. Sometimes it may happens with us also. In some of the cases, some of the mobile phones are having, or mobile companies are having, exclusive selling rights, and they are selling it through some kind of sale which are open at 12 p.m. sharp or 2 p.m. sharp on online some of the websites or applications. At the same time, when it is available for sale, it is the public good, or the person who willing to purchase can bid for that particular mobile phone. But once the mobile phone is purchased by someone, it becomes the excludability. So when it is available for sale on online website or application, it is having the competitiveness, or we can say the individuals have to compete for the ownership. But once the person has purchased that particular mobile phone, then it becomes the rule of excludability, that the person who is having this, or the person who is having the possession of that particular mobile, is exclude others to use that particular gadgets. Let us having one more example which is given in your textbook. Like for example, a packet of biscuit purchased by one child in a market which has competition among buyers. It means there is a one shop which is selling biscuits of different categories. Once it happens that there are 3 or 4 persons or 3 or 4 children who are visiting that particular shop, and they are demanding the same biscuit which the seller is selling. Say for example, they are demanding the Parle-G biscuit, but unfortunately the shopper is having only, or the shopkeeper is having only the one pack of biscuit. So now there is a competition among buyers that who will purchase and at what price. But once the biscuit comes under the ownership of this child, it means the one child is able to purchase that biscuit very quickly. So at the same time another child is excluded from having the same packet of biscuits, because now there is a rule of excludability applied to that particular product. So when the biscuit pack is in the shop, it is having the competition among buyers, but when it is purchased by a single child and another child is excluded from having the same packet of biscuit, there is an application of excludability is there. So here we have to remember that in private goods there are two characteristics, like excludability and competitiveness is applicable. Now let us move forward. The individual who pays a price gets the good and others cannot have the same unit. Once when it is available in a shop for selling, then all those persons who are willing to purchase have to pay the price. But amongst them, the person who pays the price gets the good and others cannot have the same unit because now it is purchased by someone. For example, one who does not pay price for a mobile phone does not get it. Same way, in a biscuit example also, one who do not pay for the biscuit pack does not get the same biscuit pack. Done? So it is all about the private goods. Now let us having the discussion regarding public goods. On the contrary, it means on the opposite side, public goods can be used by many individuals at the same time. Remember one thing, the private goods can be used by a single person at a one time, while the public goods can be used by many individuals at the same time. It means no one can stop you to use that particular product or to use that particular infrastructural facilities. Next, they possess the characteristics of joint demand and collective consumption. In the case of private goods, we will be having a single demand and it possesses the characteristics of only single consumption. But in the case of public goods, they possess the characteristics of joint demand. It means at the same time so many people are demanding the same product and it can be used with the collective consumption, that all those who are willing to use that particular product or that particular facility may be able to use that at the same time. Such goods are jointly demanded by many people. In private goods, we are having only single person who is demanding the goods, while in public goods, we are having jointly demanded by many people. If one individual uses it, the other cannot be excluded from its use, and in this way, they are collectively consumed. This is the main point to remember in the case of public goods and private goods. Because in private goods we are having the characteristics of excludability. It means when one person is using or owning that particular product, the others are excluded, or the person who is the owner of that particular product can stop others to use. But in the case of public goods, we are having a joint or collective consumption where if one individual uses it, the other cannot be excluded. So the characteristics of excludability is not applicable at all in the case of public goods, because the others cannot be excluded from its use, and in this way they are collectively consumed. It means at the same time so many number of people are using that particular product jointly, and hence these goods are called public goods. They are either provided, now it is the main characteristics, or we can say the main example of the public goods which will be helpful in understanding this concept very clearly. There are either provided for by the government for all, or some people pay for it together. Now remember this point because it is very important. These goods are either provided for by the government for all. It means if we are having a road, if we are having a street light, if we are having the public garden, then it is provided by the government for all. Or in case of ration shops or some particular facilities given to some particular class of peoples, we may apply that to it is available to some people pay for it together. It means there is no specific ratio or there is no specific rule regarding paying for it. It may be paid by all together, or sometimes it may be provided by the government at free of cost. Let us take the example of public goods, in which we are having the example as a public garden or the garden of a housing society. See here, there is difference between these two. A public garden is a garden which is available or open for all, where all the peoples who are living in the nearest area, or all the people who are able to using it, are free to use it because it is available at free cost by the government. While the garden of the housing society is purely made for all those persons who are the members of the society, but they can use it collectively, so there is a collective consumption on the housing society garden also. But here it is also available for all those who are able to use, or who are willing to use it. It means there is no rule of excludability, and competitiveness is applied to public goods. I hope all of you have clear cut understanding of this particular goods, that is public goods and private goods, in your mind. Let us move forward. Now we are having a very short summary regarding these two goods. In short, private goods are owned and used by private individuals, and public goods are owned by the government or group of people and are used collectively. So it is the crux of whole point that, in short, private goods are owned and used by private individuals. It means it can be used by only one person who is paying for it, or there is a characteristics of excludability and competitiveness is applied. While in public goods are owned by the government, it means they are available to all by government itself or group of people, as we are having the example of garden of housing society, and are used collectively. It means they can be used by all the persons who who have paid for using that particular facility. Now, let us move forward to the fifth and last category or pair of goods, that is consumer goods and producers goods. It is a very easy concept to understand because here we can make the clear cut difference between these two goods. So let us start with the first paragraph. Goods can satisfy human wants directly or indirectly. It means all the goods which are consumed by us can satisfy our wants directly or indirectly. It means when sometimes we are using the goods directly, like food, water, clothes, etc., it can satisfy our wants directly. But sometimes when the benefit of some other persons is getting by all the community, then it is called indirectly. Like if one of the family member starts the fan, and all others who are sitting in a room are enjoying the air of that particular fan, it means that these goods are satisfying the human wants indirectly. Let us move forward. When a consumer consumes a good, and this good is capable of satisfying a particular want directly, then it is called a consumer goods. Line this statement whenever it is asked in your examination, like what is consumers goods, then you have to mention this particular point. When a consumer, we have already discussed about the consumer and customer. Customer is a person who is purchasing a product, while consumer is a person who is consuming that particular product which is purchased by a customer. In some of the cases, customer is also a consumer because when he purchases a particular product for himself. So when a consumer consumes a good, and this good is capable of satisfying a particular want directly, it means when he is using some kind of a commodity for the satisfaction, then if he is capable of satisfying a particular want directly, then it is called a consumer goods. These goods have passed the final stage of production. This is the main point to remember in the case of consumer goods, because these goods are the finished, or we can say the final goods, which can be used by any person without any intervention or any of special facilities, because these goods have passed through the final stage of production and it is now ready for use by all those who willing to use it. For example, cooked food. If a person is able to use that particular good, or we can say if he wants to consume a cooked food, then ready food is called as a consumer's goods. They satisfy human wants directly, because when a person is feeling hungry, he may searching the particular cooked food which can satisfy his need, and by consuming this cooked food they satisfy human wants directly. It means it is available to all those who wants to consume it. Second one is a producer's good. As name suggests that these are used for the further production and they are not final goods as in the case of consumer's goods, because in consumer goods the goods is past the final stage and it is available for using in the final stage. Now, when a good is used at the intermediate stage of production of a final goods, it means it is used at the intermediate stage. Intermediate stage means a middle stage where some of the process is still left to use it as a consumer's goods. It means still there is some of the process to be run on that particular goods of production of a final good. It means it is ready to use when it will pass through some of the stage which are left. When it is purchased by a producer to produce a final good. Second characteristic is that it is purchased by a producer to produce a final good. It means the goods which are available to the producer is not the final good, and it can be purchased by a producer to produce. It means sometime it may happens that these goods are used as a raw material or tools or equipment which will be helpful in producing a final good. When it is not directly consumed by the consumers, but this good helps in the production of a final good, then such a good is called producer's goods. Line these statements and remember this statement because it will be helpful in explaining the producer's goods. Remember the point, in consumer's goods, the good is capable of satisfying a particular want directly because it is a finished goods. But here, when it is not directly consumed by the consumers because it is using by the producer to produce a final good, but this goods helps in the production of a final good, then such a good is called a producer's goods. For example, the wood or all the wooden materials which are available for producing a table or chair or any of the wooden articles. But when it is a raw wooden, then it is called a producer's goods, because some of the activities or some of the process are still left to make it usable. Let us having some of the more examples which are given in your textbook. For example, cotton used to make cloth, because the cotton is available from the farm and we cannot use directly, but we have to make some of the process in it so that it can be used for the purpose of wearing. Second one is machines used in factories to produce garments. So first of all we are having the cottons which can be used for producing some kind of garment. Then in second stage we need some of the machineries that can be used in factories to produce garment. See here, some of the students are having doubt in their mind that as machines are finished goods because that can be used for the produced garments. But remember one thing, machine cannot satisfy the need of a individual, and it is not in a consumable state. It means it is helpful in producing further production. It is not itself a final goods. It is an intermediate goods which can make finished goods, but it is not finished goods or a final good which can be consumed directly. So all those parts and equipments which are used for the further production comes under the category of producers goods. So same way machines used in factories to produce garments, or we can say machines used in a factory which can convert cotton into cotton cloth is called a producer's good. Next example is a tractor which facilitates in producing food grains. Same theory is applied here also. Tractor itself is a finished goods, but it is used for further production where it is helpful to a farmer in farming or to producing some of the goods or transferring the goods from his farm to the market. And that's why being a final goods which can be used by a farmer itself, but it is helpful in further production in farms, that's why it is also called a producer's goods, because it cannot directly satisfy the need of a consumer. Next example is a utensil used to cook food, as utensils are final products, but we cannot eat it when we are hungry. We need to cook some food with the help of this particular utensils, and that's why utensils used to cook food, etc., comes under the category of producers goods. They satisfy human wants through the final good and not directly. As in the initial stage or in the first line, we have discussed that goods can satisfy human wants directly or indirectly. So here I have to clear one point, is that all those goods which can satisfy human wants directly are comes under the category of consumers goods, and all those goods which can satisfy human wants directly or which may be useful for further production or making the product as a final product are called the indirect goods, or which can satisfy human wants indirectly. So same way in last line also, they satisfy human wants through the final good. It means they are helpful in producing or making the final goods and not directly. It means we cannot use cotton directly or machineries directly or tractor or utensils. All these equipments are helpful in further production which will be satisfy our wants directly. So here we conclude this particular topic, in which is the name of this particular topic is goods and services. So in point number 2.2, we have discussed about goods and services, and means their basic difference, like physical existence are called goods and not physical existence are called services. Then we have discussed about some of the quantitative terms, that all those goods that can be quantified are called goods, and all those commodities which cannot be quantified are called services. Then we will be having the categories of types of goods, in which in last lecture we have discussed about the physical or tangible goods or and intangible goods. It means all those goods having physical existence are tangible, and all those goods are having physical, or we can say does not have any kind of physical existence, are called intangible goods. Then economic and non-economic goods, all those goods which are having exchange value are called economic goods, and not exchange value are called non-economic goods. Durable goods which can be used for a long period of time and repeatedly, while non-durable or we can say perishable goods are all those goods which can be consumed only once and no long-term usage. Then private goods, in private goods which can be owned or possessed by a private individual, and he or she takes all decisions regarding these goods, and there is the characteristics of excludability and competitiveness is attached with that particular goods, are called private goods. On the contrary, public goods can be used by many individuals at same time, and they do not possess any kind of excludability and competitiveness, but can be used collectively by all those persons who willing to enjoy it. Lastly, we have discussed about the consumers goods and producers goods. In consumers goods category, we are having all those goods which can satisfy the human wants directly, while in producer goods comes all those goods which can satisfy the human wants but indirectly. It means they are helpful in final consumption, and by this way we can make the final goods which is available for the consumer to consume. So here we also conclude our lecture also. In next lecture we will discuss about the wealth and welfare, their meaning and characteristics of wealth and welfare, and lastly we will discuss about the types of wealth and welfare. So thank you very much class.